Nselxcin. This is Blog Knox, and I was just going to start off with the orthography, which is a big fancy word for the alphabet. And I'm just going to go through the letters one by one and talk about the sounds they make. So first we have the A, letter A, and it sounds like the short O in English, so it has the ah sound. There's a couple words on here for examples. The first one is arsic, and the second one is aistk, and the third one is asil. And the next letter we have is a C, and the C makes like the CH sound in English, so it sounds like ch. And the examples I have here are chit, chamat, and chisq. Ch. Ch. The next letter is a glottal C. It makes like a TS kind of a sound. So, so let's see. In English, we make this sound in English actually, but it's never at the beginning of the word. It's always at the end. So if you were to say itsy bitsy, or it's at the end or the middle, it's never at the beginning. But we do make that sound in English. So the first example I have is tquaq, and then tsachaych, and then tsartuts. The next letter we have is called a schwa, and basically what a schwa is all of the vowels combined into one. So usually if you hear a word and you kind of like, you don't know if that was an A or a U or an O, it's generally a schwa, and it makes an sound. So the examples I have here are echmistin, itwa, and ahwa. Ahwa means like dang it. The next letter we have is a H. Just makes it sound just like in English. The examples I have are hapu, and hamis, and ha. The next letter is an I, and this letter makes probably two sounds. The sound it makes the most often is an E sound. It also makes the I sound. The examples I have are ichen, it, and ichkin. But in a word like itwa, that makes the I sound. Pek, that has more of an I sound to it. The next letter we have is a K, and it sounds just like like a K in English. So the examples I have here are kisu, kukuwapa, and kich. The next letter is a hard K. You have 4 Ks. The second K is called the hard K. And it sounds just like a K, but you just kind of make it pop more. So it makes a sound k. And the examples I have here are kikali, kikania, and gauchin. I think I'm going through those too fast. That's good. The third K we have is called a K raised W. And you see these little W's on a lot of the Salish word or letters. And basically all that little W is telling you to do is to round your lips. And so this sounds just like a regular K, but your lips are rounded. So kwa, kwa, kwa. And the examples here I have are qua, which means you, quint, and queel. So this last K here is just like the second and third K combined. It's just hard and you round your lips, so it makes a sound. The first example I have is quap. The second example is kusiu. And the third example is quinach. The next letter we have is the letter L. Sounds just like an English L. So we have litku, lasimist, and lipam. The bottom two are actually French words that are Salisized, I guess. I don't hear a whole lot of words that actually start with the letter L, except for litq, that does. And this is called the glottal L, and it's the same thing as a regular L. It just kind of cuts off a little bit. So the L says O, and the glottal L says O. And so the first example I have is oliklik. The second one is ot, and the last one is okalet. I guess if these didn't have, say for instance, these bottom two didn't have glottals, it would be leti and la kalet, if that helps out. Here we have the barred L. It's also called the slurpy L, and you form your mouth the same way as you do when you're making a regular L, but then you just blow air out of the sides of your mouth. So the first example I have is Shapmin, Shapum, and Shat. This letter is called the barred lambda. I've also heard it called the running man, and he makes a clicking noise. I think about horse riders when they do that. And that's the sound that this guy makes. It's just a click on the side of your mouth. And the examples I have here are Tlatkana, Tlaquil, or Huma Tlaquil, and Lap. Now we have the letter M, which is just the same as in English. The examples I have are Mahoya, Ma'amat, and Miskuri. Now we have a glottal M, and this letter also is the same as the L. It just kind of cuts it off. I don't know. I must have not been able to think of more examples. But the words I have here, the examples are mamala and mchaikin. So here we have the letter N, sounds just like the English N. The examples I have are nikmin, nach, and ninuis. And then we have a glottal N, which is just kind of that cutoff thing again. The examples I have are Nselxcin, Nkap, and Nkapkin. And we have the letter P, and sounds just like the English P. The examples I have are Papalatza, Pakam, and Pichut. Now we have the hard P, and it's just like regular P, but it really just kind of pops versus P. The examples I have are Pina, Ich, and Now we have the letter Q, and the letter Q, it basically makes the same sound as the K. The only difference is where you pronounce it at. So the K is pronounced at the front of your mouth, kind of at the roof behind your teeth. So the K, K, K. But the Q is pronounced in your throat. So it kind of sounds more breathy. K, 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 versus K, 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 K. And so the examples I have here are Kakna, Kaichoch, and Kaichich. And this is the glottal Q, and it just makes it harder so you get a sound. The examples I have are Kasapi, Katspina, and Kaipua. And you have the Q with the raised W's. Just round your mouth. Quasp. Quasp, Quasqi, and Quachkin. And we have the hard K raised W, and that makes the sound. The examples I have are Qutsuya, Quastqain, and Qai. I don't know of any words that actually start with an R. We do have R's, but then I've never seen them at the beginning. It just sounds like a Spanish, like a trilled R. So the examples I have are Toris and Arsic. I made this one look really skinny, but this is a glottal R, and basically it just kind of also has that, it cuts it off and kind of makes it a little bit more trilled also. So you have Swarakhin, and Kurit. Just get more trills out of there. This little letter S sounds just like the English S. The examples I have are Swarakhin again, and Saithin, and Stupel. This is the letter T, sounds just like English T. The examples I have are Tupo, Tanmus, and Tanchout. This is a hard T, and same as a regular T, just harder. So you have Tina, Tikt, and Tit. Then we have the letter U, which makes the like a double O sound in English, U. The examples I have are Upengst, Ulus, and Ucho. Now we have the letter W, and it sounds just like the English letter W. And the examples I have are Wasa, Wapupchen, and Wita. This is a glottal W. It makes like a U sound. And the examples I have here are Uhuap, Uwikistam, and Upulau. So here we have X, and the X, it kind of sounds like an H sound, but you get, it's like a harsh H sound. And so the X makes the sound, and that one's pronounced in the front of your mouth, the same places where you pronounce the K. The examples I have here are Chutut, Hiust, and Hihistim. So then we have a wedged X. And X's are the only letters that ever get a wedge. This little hat he's wearing. And that makes it hard. And the wedge X, are pronounced in the same place as the Q. So back here in your throat. So it sounds like a versus the. You have the for the X and for the wedge X. And the examples I have are Ha'ulau, Hast, and Chotus. Now we have the X raised W, and same thing as the X, round your mouth, makes the sound. The examples I have are Huist, Hutzap, and Humina. Now we have the wedge XW, and that makes the sound. We have while, Huanam, and Hui White. Here is the letter Y, makes same as English Y. We have Yutoch, Yult, and Yayat. Here we have a glottal Y, and it makes like a y kind of a sound. The only word that I could think of that starts with the glottal Y is Nselxcin. And the other ones are white and Nselxcin, and those are just in the words that don't start with them. But white, if that Y wasn't glotted, it would just say Y, and so there's a pretty big difference between Y and white. And then here we have, it's called a gamma, and this makes the sound R, and that's pretty far back in your throat also. To me, it kind of reminds me of like if a Z and a Y mixed together or something down in your throat. That's kind of the sound it makes. The examples I have are reep, chareep, that's a tree. Reep is the root of it. Rich, and rap. Here we have a full glottal stop, and this, you have an epiglottis in your throat, and what that does is it basically, when you swallow your food, and it blocks off so you don't choke or inhale. That's where your epiglottis is. And so when you say certain words, basically your epiglottis is closing, and then it opens up, and then it's like a burst of, like a puff of air that comes out, and that's where you get that sound, and that's what a glottal stop is. It kind of like cuts it off, or makes kind of a popping sound. The examples I have are ausat and ochtilat and siat. Pretty much any letter or any word that starts with a vowel is gonna have a glottal stop in front of it. I'll explain that a little bit more in my next video, but just know for now that the glottal stop makes a sound. This is a pharyngeal, and I guess there are only 5 languages in the world that actually have pharyngeals in them, and Nselxcin is one of them. And this sound is it's pronounced in your pharynx, in your throat, and that's why they call it a pharyngeal. And it's always usually paired with vowels. On its own, this makes like a ah sound, but depending on, I'm touching my thing. My little mic. Depending on what vowel is next to it, it kind of changes the way it sounds a little bit, but on its own, this says ah. And so the examples I have are aimt, amtus, and niaip. Off the top of my head, another word is aichxt, which is where the Arrow Lakes gets their name, is the Sin Aichxt. That has a pharyngeal in there too. This is a glottal pharyngeal, and this is basically if the glottal stop and the pharyngeal came together, it's a glottal pharyngeal, so it makes a ah versus ah, it's ah, and so it kind of cuts it off. So some examples I have are atsint, saatniuch, and aichquala. And that is our Nselxcin orthography.